This is episode number 2 of the Homeowner Show. Whether you're DIY or looking to hire, we're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is my friend Craig Williams.
Are we friends?
I'd like to think we are.
Did we put this on paper? Just contract?
I think it sounds better for me to say you're my friend, so that's what I'm going with.
All right.
How's it going, man?
It's going good. Everything been okay?
Yeah, I've been, trying to learn to walk again recently. That's weird, isn't it?
My threshold for like my expectations with you, they're here. But I can. So walking's impressive. Why are you having to learn to walk? Anything?
I did something really dumb about 2 months ago. I was moving some large barbecue grills, and
Like multiple barbecue grills.
there were more than one.
Did you get like some side hustle in barbecue grills?
That would have been a much better story if I had.
You side hustling the barbecue?
No, I was delivering a couple of barbecue grills for an event, and anyway, I was in the back of my truck, jumped out of the back of my truck holding one end of a barbecue grill, and the result was not pretty. I tore my ACL, and so as you can imagine, life's been a little bit crazy for me over the last couple of months trying to recover from ACL reconstructive surgery. So I'm going to physical therapy, and man, it's life-changing in weird ways.
Which is not the kind of therapy I recommended for you.
That was a whole different type of therapy.
I even gave you some names.
Yeah, but they wouldn't take me.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But
so physical therapy is going pretty good. You walking?
Yeah, I'm walking now. Not using a crutch anymore, which was a big step. That was bad.
It's terrible.
On
that note, this is the Homeowner Show. We're glad that you guys could join us. Just ignore Kevin and his bad puns. No, we're happy you guys are here. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or at www.thehomeownershow.com. And anywhere that you find podcasts. You can find us on iTunes or any of your favorite podcast platforms. We're going to be there for you guys to help you out with all of your homeowner needs. So what do we got going on today, Kev? What's on the docket? Well, no, you actually had something. So today we're going to be talking about the what is it?
It's a thermostat. So one of the things that we're going to do from time to time on the show is do some product reviews, and we're going to start off with a smart thermostat. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So I mentioned in our very first episode, which was one episode ago,
yeah,
that I love
the triumphal entry of the Homeowner Show, episode 1.
That's right.
The one that they're going to be talking about for years to come.
We're actually back for another one too.
Ooh,
how about that?
We made it.
They
kept us on the air.
Yeah, I love gadgets. I love tech, and I try to infuse those things into my life in ways that I can. And when we bought our home, my wife was saying, "Oh, we need to buy this and decorate with this." And I looked at her and I said, "Can I have some sort of tech?" She's like, "What do you mean tech?" And I was like, "I want a smart thermostat." And she's like, "What is a smart thermostat?" And I think that
she wasn't concerned at all that you were going like full Skynet in the house, right?
No, she probably should have been.
No,
but
I'm concerned again.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been interested in having a Wi-Fi thermostat for years now. They've kind of come on the market over the last 5.
Yeah, they're still relatively new.
They are, but it's something I've always kind of thought would be interesting. I mean, are you even interested in owning something like that?
Oh, absolutely. No, I just don't like to like reveal my nerdiness to the public, and
Full blown
I
nerd
keep
here.
it on the DL.
Yeah.
You know.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, I started doing research on Wi-Fi thermostats because, man, there's a lot of them out there. And originally, I was kind of thinking, man, the thing that I really want is if I'm super cold in the morning, I can just not have to get out of bed.
I don't have to put those cold toes on the floor. Is that what you? Yeah.
That's right. I just
gotcha.
want to be able to change.
I see the real motivation here.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to think about what's really important in life. And for me, not having to get up to change the thermostat if I'm cold in the morning, big deal.
Yeah.
So I started just kind of trying to figure out, okay, what's going to do the best for me to be able to do this? What kind of price range am I even going to get into? What kind of features are even available? And honestly, there were kind of three that topped the list as far as things that were interesting. And the first one, probably one that a lot of people have heard about, is the Nest thermostat.
Right.
The second one was Honeywell. They've put out a pretty good Wi-Fi thermostat. And then the last one, the one that I actually went with, was the Ecobee. And so there's features about each one that are interesting. But for me, I own the Ecobee. So we're going to review the Ecobee today. Maybe we'll get to the Nest or the Honeywell another time, but we're going to kind of focus on the Ecobee today. So I'm just curious. We didn't even talk about this beforehand, but do you have any questions about things that you would be interested in knowing when it comes to a smart thermostat?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I'm actually, I've been shopping for one for a while now, and the Ecobee has definitely been on my radar. I like some of the things I've seen about it. I think my subconscious concern is that my house would treat it as a foreign entity, and like just attack it. It's like, I think my house would actually view it as like witchcraft.
It wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's just, what do we do? Burn it.
Burn it.
Burn it.
It's a witch.
How do you know it's a witch? I don't know.
I saw it.
It's magic.
It didn't look right.
No. Yeah, no. That's honestly been one of my concerns. It's like, I don't know if my house would actually like accept this thing as one of its own. Yeah, no. As far as like, yeah, like, so because, and this is something we'll get into later, but like the operation of the thing. I mean, I think for me and for like a lot of people, I think it's like, am I going to have to learn to program this thing like I used to have to program a VCR? I mean, because like it's a thermostat. I mean, like if you're taking something that's traditionally been typically mechanical, I mean, which is what most thermostats are,
sure,
and you're converting it into digital, where you're connecting it, to the Internet of Things. Doesn't this get like exponentially more complicated to operate?
Yeah, no, it's a really valid point, because recent years, even before the smart thermostats came on the market, we started seeing touchscreen thermostats.
Right, yeah.
And even before then, we had more digital options like 7-day programmable, right? And you're sitting in front of your thermostat for an hour just trying to get it to do what you want it to do, right?
Right, yeah, no, I've even been in some homes where, and this is just, sort of, I think the cultural bias that we have, where I've seen the home be set up with iPads as the room-to-room control system, and so like when I would walk into those rooms, it's like, oh, there's an Apple product. Those are super simple to use, so I could probably operate this room. And so like that that concern is sort of taken away because of the familiarity with the product. I mean, 'cause like even if you don't have like an iPhone or an Apple Watch or an iPad or any of those kind of things, you've probably seen one and seen somebody else operate, and it's like, oh, it's like that's the app. You use touch screen. And those kinds of things. And so like I could probably figure out how to do this kind of thing. Or like this is something like completely new and different, not necessarily from like an operational standpoint, but like you're going to have to learn, and like you're probably going to have to read a manual, which most people don't want to do.
Sure.
They kind of want to like pop up on their phone and tell me what to do, or watch a YouTube video on how to do it. So I mean, I think there's like a level of intimidation right at the get-go of like, this is something I'm not used to. I'm used to having the dial that I can just sort of point, and like there are digital thermostats now that aren't like as sophisticated as these smart ones, right? Where like you hit the button and it changes the little simple LCD screen to show me the temperature that it's going to be or something like that. But like this is like a whole other layer of complexity in as far as like features and options and what it's capable of doing, or is it learning, is it not learning, is it what, and I, for people that are probably like our parents' age and older, really intimidating.
Sure.
I mean, because they're still like frustrated that they're not flip phones anymore.
No, that's a good point. And I think the thing right out of the box that I want to tell you is that this thing was super easy to install.
Mm-hmm.
It was super easy to program. And honestly, it doesn't get a lot easier than telling Siri to change your temperature to 74 degrees. And I mean, that was one of the beauty of this thing is, but your phone didn't like automatically know like, hey, there's a smart thermostat in the house and now I have control of it, right? I mean, like there was steps involved with getting those things to talk to one another. Sure. But I will tell you, it's a lot easier than you might think, and that's one of the things that I want to kind of educate people on today is just give some information about what this thing can do, what some of the pros are, maybe what some of the cons are as well.
Yeah.
And just kind of go from there. So you ready to get into this thing?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Well, so just to let you know, there's a few different models of the Ecobee. The one that I own is called the Ecobee3 Lite. The Ecobee3 has been discontinued. So at the time we're recording this...
Wait, so the one that you're using has been discontinued, or the one...
No. So the Ecobee3 is a different version than the Ecobee3 Lite.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, there's a little bit of a misconception that I had that the Lite version was like a watered-down version of the Ecobee3, which is not completely true, and we don't really have to get into all the specifics, but the Ecobee3 has now been discontinued. So they now also have a new version, is the Ecobee4.
Right.
So one of the things that is really beautiful about the Ecobee system is they allow for room sensors. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but the Ecobee4 comes with a room sensor, and it is also Alexa enabled, which means Alexa is built into it. So if you were to
right, so you don't need like an additional Dot or Echo or Show or what? There's like 5 or 6 different ones now.
Right.
You don't need those additional ones in order to have Alexa in your house. It's already there in the Ecobee.
That's right. So you can.
And I've heard it even has like the same like blue LED light at the top.
Yes,
that
it does.
Lights up like. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the beautiful things about that model is it has Alexa built into it.
Comes with the same Russian espionage.
That's right.
Invasion.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you that you have to think real critically about whether or not you need that in a thermostat
because it comes with it's like a significantly more.
It is more expensive.
Right.
Right now, which again is relative depending on when you're listening to this. But there's like an $80 difference in the Ecobee3 Lite, which is the one that I have, versus the Ecobee4 that's Alexa enabled.
So for everybody listening, so essentially you could buy the Ecobee3 Lite and an Amazon Alexa Echo
for about the same price.
For about the same money as the Ecobee 4.
And then you could put that dot wherever you wanted it.
Well, the dots are like half the price.
They're even cheaper,
So,
right?
I mean, like for $80 right now, I mean, like you can get the Echo, which has the built-in speaker. It actually sounds really, really nice if you guys haven't had the chance to listen to one yet. So you could actually, I mean, like potentially you could actually have more.
Depending on which version
by not getting the 4 and getting the 3. Because the 3 can connect to Alexa, right?
Absolutely. We're going to get into that as well. So just to kind of wrap up the different versions, so the 4 also comes with one room sensor.
Okay.
And it's Alexa enabled. Those are the two primary differences between the Ecobee 4 and the Ecobee3 Lite, which comes with no room sensors, and it is not Alexa. It doesn't have Alexa built into it.
Right. They can still Alexa could still
function
connect
with it.
to it or whatever.
That's right.
So, but can you get room sensors for the Lite?
Yeah. So let's just jump to that real quick. What's really cool is the Ecobee system has specific room sensors, and so this room sensor is basically like a little 1-inch by 1-inch square that's got a little stand on it that it's wireless. You can put it anywhere in your home that you want to. And it connects back to the thermostat itself, and it senses the temperature in the location that you put the room sensor. So,
I got to be honest, the first time I saw these things, it looked like a tile.
Yeah, it actually looks just like that.
I was like, is that in case I lose the thermostat?
That's a good version of what it kind of looks like. It kind of looks like that tile. But the neat thing about it is that thermostats are built to read the temperature at the thermostat.
Right.
So if you've got a whole house thermostat, one room you might notice is super cold or maybe super hot. So you put a room sensor in that room that is at a different temperature typically, and it sends the information wirelessly back to the thermostat itself and helps adjust the temperature of your house to negate that problem.
So it's a better regulation of the temperature throughout the whole home.
Yeah, it that's one of the smart things about it. It gives you the ability to regulate your whole house better than just having one sensor at the thermostat itself.
So is it? And this has actually been one of the things I've been super curious about when it comes to the Ecobee, because there's not really anybody. None of the other competitors really seem to have anything that I know of that's kind of like this, where they have like additional sensors that you can put throughout the home.
The new Nest does.
The new Nest does.
But
okay,
it's a new thing, and
so they're up in their game a little bit.
Finally, yeah.
So this is something they've seen as like a competition issue between them and the Eco.
Correct.
So like what I've been curious about is like, so say I had like a really hot room in my house. Would that sensor then cause me to use a lot more electricity, or could I sort of customize it to where maybe plus or minus 10 degrees or something like can I set those as variables?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a couple of different functions that the room sensors can hold, and you can set these parameters up inside both the app on your device and on the thermostat itself. We'll get to how those things are similar a little bit later, but there's different modes that you can put the sensors in. So you can basically have them set to activate a smart home or away setting. So if you're home, it'll sense that you're home because it senses motion as well as temperature, which is really cool. So if you walk into a room,
so are you talking about like the the sensors or the actual thermostat itself?
Good question. Both.
Oh, okay.
Both have a motion detection sensor on them. So the thermostat itself and the external sensors, they have a motion detection on them and a temperature regulation detection on them. So if you're not in a room for maybe half the day and you walk into that room, you can have it set to where it now triggers that is an occupied room and adjust the temperature accordingly without you touching anything. Okay, so that's kind of a neat option. Another option is called the Follow Me feature. And so basically it senses which room is being used, and then if you leave that room and go to another room, it almost follows you in that way. So it senses where you are in your house,
Yeah.
and it regulates the temperature based on that. Now, you have to have multiple sensors in order for that to work, but that is one of the modes of that. So, like I said, there's a couple of different features about how you can actually utilize the sensors. And here's the other thing. You can add up to 32 sensors.
Holy cow.
To each thermostat. So, for me, I've got 2 air conditioning units at my house. A lot of people do. We actually just have a single-story home, but we still have 2 heating and air conditioning units. So I had to have 2 Ecobee thermostats. Now, they don't necessarily talk to each other, but they work hand in hand just fine, just like any 2 thermostats might. But imagine I could have potentially 64 sensors around my house. Now, that would be silly, obviously. Actually, you would have one for the thermostat itself.
Make the tour really long.
Yeah, that's right. But it is really amazing how specific they're allowing you to get with your thermostats.
So with any of the other competitors that we're talking about, do they, I mean, like say you had, like 2 systems like what you have, are there any of those systems that do sort of communicate between each other?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of?
Not that I know of. So that's not necessarily a feature I'm losing by using the Ecobee over another one. Now,
right.
I could be wrong, but from what I understand, none of them do. So let's just talk about a couple of the pros in general of the Ecobee. So first of all, it's a Wi-Fi enabled. Okay, so a couple of things that means. Number one, it means that it will work with my phone or my iPad or whatever device that I'm using. So I can be literally. I'm not at my house right now. We're recording off-site, and one of the crazy things that happened before we got here is my air conditioning unit stopped working.
Yeah.
I was putting my kids to bed, and it was 77 degrees in the bedrooms, and I was going, what is going on? And for some reason, my condenser unit wasn't coming on. So we fiddled with this, that, and the other. And I don't think I fixed anything, but somehow my condenser started working. And I was able to check a few minutes ago on my phone and see that indeed it had dropped to the 73 degrees, which is what we keep it at night. And so I'm able to adjust those off-site based on the fact that it's Wi-Fi. The other thing it does is it gathers information from your local weather station, and so it knows how hot it is outside. Now, that's going to come into play whenever you set certain features of this Wi-Fi thermostat to know how long it's going to take to cool down your house. So you can set some parameters to say, for example, I want my house to cool down by 5 o'clock in the afternoon whenever I get home. Well, it may need to kick on at 4:30. It may need to kick on at 4:40. It just kind of depends on how hot it is outside and how hot it is in your house, obviously, in order to cool down to the appropriate level. So that's really neat. It also works with every platform that you can think of. So it works with HomeKit, Apple HomeKit.
All right.
We can discuss what that is at some point. But if you have an Apple TV, you have Apple HomeKit capabilities. It also works with Alexa. It works with Google Assistant. It works with SmartThings, and it also uses a technology called IFTTT, which is
if then that then or
if this then that.
if this then that. Yeah. Okay.
So that's really helpful. For example, well, let me just say this too before I get there. It also uses geofencing. So geofencing is the capability to sense a certain area and do certain things based on the area that you're in. So, for example, whenever I drive into a certain radius of my house that I can set, I get a notification on my Apple Watch that says, do you want to run the automation? So I've set up an automation with my Apple TV with HomeKit to say, unlock my front door. So I've also got smart locks on my house.
Right.
So it'll automatically, whenever I say run that automation, it'll automatically unlock my front door. So I can set this thermostat to say, if the front door unlocks, then set my thermostat to a certain temperature or to a certain setting.
Right.
So if this, then that. So if my front door unlocks, then do this to the thermostat.
So do you also have to have a specific Ecobee app in order to use?
There's a free app that can be downloaded on your iPhone or Android devices.
Yeah, and see, this is where I think for some people who are in the older age bracket, I think that's probably where it gets stressful, right? Is okay, so I have to have the Ecobee app, and then I have to have the IFTT whatever. I have to have this app so I can talk to that app, so that app can talk to this, and that's where it's I know that becomes an issue for them, where it's how do I do this? I can't, that's just not
cumbersome.
Yeah, they want one thing.
Sure.
And I think that's why a lot of people will default away from it and go
Sure.
no, I'm just going to put the mechanical one up and
Right. Now, let me tell you this, though, because this is really cool. The software that is utilized with this thermostat is really good, and it partners with the app in a really cool way. In that, so you've got a 3.5 inch digital screen on the thermostat itself. So if you're at the wall where the thermostat is, you've got a 3.5 inch digital screen. What you see on the screen is exactly what you see on the iPhone or Android app.
So
it's the same. So you're not looking at a certain thing in the app and a certain thing on the thermostat. So I think one of the things that's beautiful about this app specifically is you're not trying to navigate something differently than you're having to navigate on the thermostat itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's a really good thing. I will tell you another benefit is it's got something built in called Home IQ. And if you're using not just your iPhone, but maybe an iPad or the computer, you can go on and see real-time energy savings that you're getting and also compare that with other people in your neighborhood who are also using some sort of a Wi-Fi thermostat to give you real-time data based on saying things like your house is this efficient or not efficient enough.
Yeah, because to me that's appealing because now it's a competition.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
And I'm going to win.
You're going to win. And that means you may have to do some other things to your house. It actually helps you, when it comes to home ownership, it helps you know, oh, my house actually isn't very efficient. What does that mean? And it may mean that you need new insulation in your house.
Right.
Up in your attic.
Now that I'm thinking about this,
similar.
I'm going to have to buy another house in order to win.
Yeah, you're going to fail.
I'm not.
You're going to fail. That's okay.
That's okay. But it's worth it to win.
Again, your house will eat this thermostat.
The white blood cells will come out.
That's right.
And just, yeah.
That's right. Now, I will tell you this. There are a couple of things that I would say are cons about this thermostat.
Sure.
One of them is that the Ecobee system requires a C-wire.
Okay.
Do you know what a C-wire is?
I have no idea what a C-wire is.
I didn't either. And actually, it wasn't as difficult as I expected it might be. But the thing is, it doesn't have batteries.
Okay.
And it will not allow you to put batteries in it. So, for example...
so is this something that like most thermostats currently don't have, or?
Yeah, so if you have just a plain Jane original, 1950s thermostat, it's purely mechanical, right?
My house would love that.
Yeah, it would. You move a little lever, and it moves another little lever, and it tells the thermostat to
You've
kick
already
on.
gotten way too complicated for my house. I mean, we're
That's
beyond
true.
one lever.
Well, only one lever, right? So once you start going digital, though, it's got data.
Okay.
And the data, like, for example, we talked earlier about a 7-day programmable thermostat, right? So you've spent an hour standing in front of this thing trying to get Sunday to change the temperature whenever I get home from church, right?
Right.
So if for some reason you lose power or the batteries go dead or something, there's some sort of backup if you have a battery system. Okay, so
You mean like you're talking about like a home battery system? Is that what?
No. Like a AA batteries that actually go into the thermostat
Oh, okay, I got
itself.
you. Yeah.
So the Ecobee does not have batteries. So in order for it to get power, it has to have a C-wire. The C-wire, basically, think about it this way. It's constant power. It's a C-wire.
Okay.
So the way you get that, and this is kind of the tricky part, is either A, your thermostat has already got that capability. So there are wires that come out of the wall, and one of them is a C-wire. That's one option. My house didn't have a C-wire coming out of the wall. So one of the cons is that they provide you with another little device that goes on your actual heating and air system, on the actual big thing either up in your attic or outside, that you have to plug into, and it sends power back to the thermostat itself. So there's another step if you don't have a C-wire that you have to install. Now it's pretty simple, and there is a tutorial which actually I will link to the show notes here. That is an online tutorial that'll help you walk through this process. It's fairly simple, but it's another thing that you have to do.
I mean, it was just like something you had to like drop a wire down through the wall or something like that?
No, it's easier than that, because basically you just take a panel off the side of your heating and air system and connect one wire, and you're good. It's a whole lot more simple than it sounds like it is.
Sure.
But it's another step that you have to do. And since I have two thermostats, I had to be up in my attic twice to get that done. So it was a little bit frustrating, but that's just the way it is.
Sure.
Now, the other thing...
Is it? I mean, it's completely unfunctional without
Yeah, it won't work without the C-wire.
Okay. Yeah.
So the other thing is that it is not a learning thermostat. And so a lot of people have really connected with this idea of a learning thermostat. So... Craig, why don't you explain for a minute what a learning thermostat means?
Yeah, so from what I understand, I mean, it learns your routines. I mean, like it sort of begins to predict your behavior, and like so it learns when you leave for work, when you're coming home for work, and so like when things need to start coming back on, going off, when to conserve energy, when to expend energy, and so like typically most people are home on the weekends during the day, whereas during the week they're not. And so it like learns that like, well, on Saturdays I probably need to run the AC more than I do on like a Monday or a Tuesday when everyone's out of the house, if you're out of the house during the week. Or if like, maybe you have a job where you're home on Thursdays. And so it would just sort of begin to learn that like, oh, well, Craig's home on Thursday, so we need to run the AC on Thursdays. And it just begins, I mean, from what I understand, it just basically picks up the patterns of your regular routine, and you can deviate from those routines and make changes that are out of the ordinary. Like if you're out of town on vacation, you could probably let a learning thermostat know, like, hey, I'm going to be out of town for the next 10 days or something like that. So yeah, I mean, like this was a struggle for us for a while too, because we used to have a pet that we had to keep. I mean, like we had like an exotic pet that we had to keep at a specific temperature, and so like a learning thermostat was just like out of the cards for us, because we had to keep. We didn't have the option to keep a room a specific temperature, and so we had to keep the whole house a specific temperature most of the time. But the idea that that the thermostat can actually learn and begin to understand your behaviors, pretty incredible. A little creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's exactly right. So basically, every time you walk by that thing, you're wanting to, for the first couple of weeks, you're wanting to kind of, adjust it. And when you leave and when you come home, those sorts of things, and it learns your behavior. So the Ecobee doesn't do that. Instead, it does something a little different. They've come up with a different solution. So they basically have said, we're going to provide you with three settings that are the most common settings. Those settings are home, so when you're actually physically at home, away, so when you're not at home, and then sleep, so when you're sleeping, right? Now, there are others that you can add. That's actually a new feature that they've added recently. You can add other specifications as far as preferred temperatures, but basically they're saying, we want you to set a temperature that you're most comfortable at when you're at home, and one for when you're away, and one for whenever you're asleep. So when you're programming this thing, you basically say, you go into the app and tell it, at this time I'm home, at this time I'm away, and at this time I'm sleeping, and then it will program based on those settings.
And can you set it up based on, I mean, like, will it differentiate between people?
On some level, yes. So the way that will work specifically is, again, with the geofencing. So you can set it to where, for instance, my wife and I both have iPhones. We're the only two people in our house that have phones right now. And so as long as you're on the same platform, iPhone, then the way it works is, if I leave and Kimberly is still there, it knows, because it sees that there is still a device within a certain range. If then she leaves, then it'll sense. You have to set this up, and it's just a click of a button, but then it'll sense there are no iPhones in the geofenced area that you have set up. Therefore, we're going to adjust the temperature. But other than that, that's about as specific as it gets. If that makes sense.
So with the geofencing, how far out can that be?
That's a good question. I don't know the exact answer. I'll tell you.
The idea there is like, so like, say like I'm within 3 miles of the house, Ecobee is going to kick on the AC, so it's reasonably cool when I get home.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So we have ours set up pretty close to our house. Just that's the way we have it set up. It's within about a 2-house radius, so it's pretty close. But you can move that out, and so when we leave the house, it's a little bit closer than when we get to come to the house, it's a little bit further out.
Now, is that a feature of the Ecobee app, or is that if this then that?
Both, actually.
Well, you have to kind of do it in conjunction.
It's both. So you can, if you don't have another device that is helping run your thermostat. So, for example, if you don't have an Apple TV, or if you don't have an Alexa or a Smart Things or something like that, then the app itself can set those things up for you. It becomes smarter when you pair it with one of those other devices. But the Ecobee app itself can set up the geofencing specifically.
Yeah.
So a couple of other things that I find are real impressive is the way it works with HomeKit specifically, which is what we use. We all use Apple devices at my house, and so HomeKit's a pretty neat feature. Swipe up from the home screen, and I can click on HomeKit, and I can set all kinds of automations for various things in my house, and they can all tie in with my thermostat. And so that's a feature that's really nice. Again, the other thing that's really nice is I can literally use my phone to say, Siri, change the temperature to this degree. If we got friends coming over and we want it a little bit cooler or something, we just tell Siri to change it, and it will. So that's a beautiful thing about the way HomeKit can work. Now, if you've got smart lighting at your house, you can tell it that whenever at a certain time, if it finds that your light's dim, maybe that changes the mood of your house, and it can change the thermostat. So there's a lot of different ways that HomeKit specifically can interact with your thermostat it just makes it a little smarter. But the really beautiful thing is, even better about being smarter, I've seen about I know this is crazy, but I've seen about a 40% decline in my overall energy bill. So what I was paying a year ago for electricity is about 40% less today than it was a year ago. And based on the Home IQ, which comes with the thermostat itself, I can tell that it's showing me about 36% savings. So it's really right in range.
That's impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
And so whenever you start thinking about that, for me, I can tell you that's about, I know it sounds crazy, that's about a $50 difference every month that I'm paying, which means within just a few months, I've paid for the thermostat itself.
Yeah.
Based on the savings that I'm getting, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So I've alluded to it before. The Ecobee app is very well designed. There's a lot of things that you can do. For instance, you can change the temperature differential from whenever it kicks on. So, for instance, if you've got your thermostat set at 70, you can tell it, I want a 3-degree swing. So it won't kick on until the temperature gets down to 67, for example, or if it gets up to 73 if it's in air conditioned mode. So that's a 3-point differential. Most thermostats can't handle that. Most of them will do a 1 or 2-degree swing, and it is set. You can't change it.
Right.
So you can change it.
And you can make it bigger than 3?
I think it goes all the way up to 5.
Okay.
So, and you can lower it all the way to 1. So it just kind of depends on what your own comfort level is.
Yeah.
But it's got all the normal things. I mean, you can program every day differently. So it is 7-day programmable.
Well, I know you said earlier you were looking because you were concerned about the condenser coming on, but you looked to see what the temperature was at your house just from here at the studio.
Yeah.
And so are you able to adjust the thermostat from here? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I wanted to change the temperature of my house right now and be a jerk, I could do that. That's something that I could do very easily. I don't have to be connected to my own Wi-Fi in order to change the temperature. So that is kind of a nice thing. One of the reasons that I chose to go with smart locks on my home is so that if I needed someone to get into my home when I wasn't there, I could just unlock it from anywhere in the world. Well, now I can also adjust the temperature for them as well. So that's kind of a neat thing.
So if you let somebody in, they stayed a little too long, you could just
oust them.
Yeah, just sweat them out.
That's exactly right.
I love it.
It's a beautiful thing. So it's also got vacation mode, right? So things like that. If you're on vacation, you can set it for any number of days, and it'll it'll adjust itself accordingly. So when you first unbox this thing, it looks really nice. I love unboxing things and it be nice. It's not all cluttered up. It's not hard to find things. The installation guide is fantastic. The online tutorials are really, really good. You can literally watch a tutorial video and go step by step by step, and when you're done, you're done. There's nothing else that you have to do. So the installation, they really took a lot of care in saying, you know what? You're not going to have to hire a professional if you have any sort of ability to do DIY things yourself. Then you don't have to hire a professional to just install a new thermostat, which could be quite costly on top of the thermostat itself. So that's kind of a neat thing.
So do you wish it had any of the features that you're missing from some of the other models?
The only thing that I think is quote unquote missing from this model is the learning capability.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, there are pros and cons to the learning system, because it takes about two weeks to learn your system, for your system to learn you.
Yeah.
And
I like to think I'm more of a complicated person than that.
The 2 weeks.
I think I'd need at least 2.5.
2.5. Yeah. So that's well and great, but once it's set, it's set. It's learned itself, and it'll adjust as necessary. But with this one, I can set it from the beginning and go. I kind of know what my rhythms are. I don't need someone else to learn it.
Yeah.
I know what they are.
So you have concerns about prejudice with the
Let's not go there.
Okay.
Let's not go there.
I think my thermostat's telling me I'm lazy. I'm supposed to be at work. I turned the air off.
That's right.
I'm sick. All right. I'm home.
That's right.
Okay, I got you.
You never know. That's kind of. I could get into a lot of the functionality of the app and those sorts of things, but I guess the thing that I would tell you is that it works.
Yeah.
And it's functional. It's intuitive. You don't have to go through a lot of process just to learn how to use the app or how to use the thermostat itself. It's intuitive.
So aesthetically, purely is it, in your opinion, is it, because I actually think the Ecobee is really slick looking.
Sure.
To me it kind of looks like it's supposed to be married with an iPhone or a smart device or something like that. But do you think it's aesthetically, because that's important to people, the way it looks in your home? Is it better looking than the Nest? Is it better looking than the Honeywell? Where does it fall in that?
So it's a square device with rounded edges. Okay, right. And like I said, the screen's about 3.5 inches. And the Nest is round and kind of looks like a hockey puck.
Right.
Right. And it's got pretty colors on it.
Okay.
It's blue if it's cold, or if you're using cool setting, it's
I didn't know it
red.
did that. It changes colors with the. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So there's some LED things going on there as well, right? The Ecobee isn't that flashy. It's black and white. The majority of the Ecobee is white. They did that on purpose because most people don't have black walls, and so the white blends in to most settings a little bit better. And I will tell you that the Ecobee3 Lite it seems significantly thinner than the Ecobee 4 that has the Alexa enabled.
And who wants a fat thermostat?
I'm just saying. I know, right? But it sticks out further from the wall, the 4 does, than the 3. But, aesthetically, man, I think it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's a big upgrade from what I did have. I think anybody would walk by it and go, okay, that's cool. It looks aesthetically better than just your typical everyday run-of-the-mill thermostat would. Even some of the touchscreen ones, some of those get big and wonky. I don't think this one is at all. I think it's got a good look to it. It gives you the information you need whenever you walk by it, and it's a neat product. I would highly recommend this. So I guess on a scale from 1 to 10, would I buy this again? I would buy it again. I would give it an absolute 9 or 10 on this.
We don't need those. We need the homeowner show rating system. 5 houses out of 5 houses. It's all right. How many houses are you gonna give this thing?
I'm giving it to 4 out of 5 houses.
4 out of 5 houses. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that 5th house probably doesn't want a Wi-Fi thermostat.
So the 5th house is my house.
It's your house. It won't accept it.
That's right.
Yeah. It'll swarm it. So, yeah.
Only custom pull start thermostats for
custom
for Craig's house.
Yeah.
That's right. Diesel thermostats for my house.
Yeah, instead of Alexa enabled, it's
right.
diesel enabled.
That's right.
That's right.
From Czechoslovakia.
That's right. Well, I think we've pretty well covered this. I mean, do you have any other questions or thoughts about this Ecobee specifically?
No, I think I'm convinced. I need to go buy another house and get me some smart thermostats.
Yeah.
So, and start saving some money on the... Wait. To buy the other house first.
Yeah, it's not going to work out the way you want it to, I don't think.
Maybe if I just never ran the AC.
Good luck with that. You do have a wife and kids. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, no, I did. I did recently listen to an interview with Elon Musk, and he spent a good deal of time talking about smart thermostats.
Really?
Particularly in conjunction, with one of his businesses, which is solar power, which is something I'm really interested in. I love the idea of solar power, and I think you and I have talked about before. We've talked several times about getting it on our property.
Yeah.
But he was actually saying one of the biggest hang-ups with these smart thermostats is people's anxiety with setting them up.
Sure.
And that's why they ended up not getting them. Is like, I don't think I know how to control this thing. I don't think I know how to program it. And that's the idea, I think, is stuck in people's heads. I have to program it.
Yeah.
Which I think is the appeal of the smart one. Is like, I don't have to program it. It'll just sort of program itself over time.
Sure.
But it seems like you get more options with this Ecobee where you can, motion detection and geofencing and all that. Not that the other ones don't have that, but this one seems to be just kind of operating a little bit differently.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of fancy bells and whistles. We're saying things like motion sensors and geofencing and if this, then that, right?
Yeah.
We're saying a lot of these things, but even if you never used any of those things, I think at the end of the day, what you would see is a reduction in your overall cost of electricity for your house and the amount of time your thermostat is running because, oh man, I left my house again and forgot to change the thermostat.
Yeah.
And how often have you thought that? And man, all I got to do is pull up my app on my phone and change it, and I'm good. So I didn't have to waste 6 or 8 hours of my day of energy efficiency because I was able to change it and not drive all the way back to my house. So there's a lot of benefits here that even if you didn't use some of these quote-unquote, fancy options, you'll be happy with.
Still going to get quite a bit of benefit, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Anything else we need to cover? Any homeowner show business?
I guess the thing I would tell our listeners out there, if you've got a product that you love, let us know. I'm interested to know what it is. If you've got a product that you would like to see reviewed, we'd love to know what that is as well. And if we have an opportunity to review it, we will. And it doesn't have to be tech.
Yeah.
Craig, you and I were talking just before the show about a new product that I've seen online. It's like an alternative to putting concrete around fence posts.
Yeah.
Kind of neat thing, and it's fairly new. And so, again, I don't know what those products would be, but if you've got any ideas and would like to have us talk about it on the podcast, we'd love to do that. Send your request or your ideas to info@homeownershow.com, and that'll get to both of us.
Yeah, or if you have a business that has a new product that you wanting to get out there, and we'd be happy to review it, take a peek at it.
Absolutely.
See if it's be helpful to all the homeowners out there. So yeah, one of the best things you can do is go online and review the show on iTunes or on YouTube, or just subscribe to the show on YouTube or on iTunes, or just send us a message. You can reach us again at info@homeownershow.com. You can also reach us on Facebook and Instagram. We're always available and happy to talk with everybody and hear what's going on. And let us know if you have any ideas for upcoming shows. We wanna put together shows that you guys want to listen to. And so if there's a home project or modeling or a product or any of those kinds of things that we can talk about in regards to home ownership, we want to be here for you guys to help you get through that. So I guess until next time, Kev.
See you later. Thanks for listening.